The Scrolls of Hyar, the Fragment of the Dome, Visions of the Deceased Beings, and the Experimental Lands. After the first humans had been defeated mainly in their great core in Asgard with connection in Hyperborea, the custodians left few real leaders there and marched away. We can find in the Great Ancestral Library the story about a group of humans of the first generation that, following in the footsteps of the original ones, started to group together to face their then new and hostile visitor. Nos Confunden. This happened in the lands now known as Lemuria, across the First Dome and north of the ancient lands of Anak. The custodian leaders would not imagine that a group of natives who had just begun their development some time ago could generate a great force against their new colonizer. A human leader named JB, as he appears in the ancestral records, decided to raise overnight a great revolt for liberation, which he would try until his last days. JB sent to the men and women of trust several texts where they unmasked the custodian leaders, royal custodians, and their hostility towards the human being. In fact, the custodians were trying to manipulate first-generation humanity that this colonization was nothing more than a transition in order to free them from another yoke they had invented for themselves, and that, if they left the lands, the entire human race would perish. Nos Confunden. But JB had gathered much information about the originators and the real purpose of the human being in these lands, and he convinced his most select group that this was totally contrary to what the custodians had informed him. Many of the other humans then began to follow JB and join his cause. It was quite simple since humans were practically locked in the lands of Lemuria. The main mission that JB had, and that he had informed his group, was that in Asgard still resisted another group of humans, but that they, on the other hand, still possessed ancient technology and was a much more numerous group. JB insisted that they had to reach them to be able to gather and form a powerful front to face the colonizing leaders. Nos Confunden. Another large group was formed on the opposite coast of Lemuria that accused JB of treason against humanity. This triggered several bloody clashes in Lemuria between the human race itself that did nothing but attract the attention of the custodians. It is not very clear why this large group opposed JB's journey to Asgard, accusing him of treason. It may be for the simple reason of custodian manipulation or for other interests. Anyway, these bloody clashes weakened much of the rebels who were now more concerned about surviving in the lands of Lemuria. Nos Confunden. Than the journey to Asgard to free humanity from the custodian yoke. After other conflicts, JB and a group of 5 people decided to undertake the journey to Asgard. Since most of the citizens in Lemuria had decided to place themselves on the opposite side, although they wanted to annihilate the rebel leader, they did not see with bad eyes that they escaped from these lands. However, JB did not want to harm any other humans because of these differences. He said that most of them were under the effects of the custodian trance, and that they were not going to wake up once those ideas of a slave freedom promised by the custodians had penetrated their entrails. Nos Confunden. The group left as soon as the red sun was on the horizon with their ship and technology they had managed to obtain, leaving behind a large part of humanity that had been led astray by corrupt leaders with ideas of slavery. Their ship headed straight for the first dividing membrane, and they kept parallel to the shores of Laurentia, traveling over a great expanse of land for a long period of time. In the eastern part of the coast of Laurentia, near the first dividing mountains of Asgard, they encountered another inconvenience. A large reptile protruded above the ocean. This reptile guarded the shores of Asgard between the same snowy mountains, and it was not going to be an easy task to be able to cross it. The creature had a colossal size, and JB's group was weakened by the whole journey to this remote place. In fact, they had loaded provisions in Lemuria, but they expected to have contact with another group of humans, which never happened, as the humans never reached the shores. Nos Confunden. In addition to another conflict they had to deal with when creatures with dark fur and white eyes attacked them on the southern part of the coast, between the first barrier membrane and the beautiful beaches there. 2 people of the group suffered serious injuries and were on the boat bound for Asgard, but how would the few members now avoid the serpent-like beast that guarded the gates of Asgard? Faced with this complex situation, the group had to decide what to do. They could not return to the lands of Lemuria, since everyone there was against JB's ideas and would not welcome them. And returning to Lemuria was also a complicated option, since they could be attacked by those creatures or by others, since the area did not seem to be safe and was still unknown to the group. Nos Confunden. JB knew that humans lived there, but they had not been able to find them. The only option was to return through the northern part, opposite to the way they had come, and if they could settle there, maybe they could start again, the journey to Asgard in a different way, more equipped, and with all the crew in better shape. Trying to cross to Asgard between those huge snowy mountains and the colossal creature that guarded its seas was not going to be the best option. Besides, they did not know the way to enter. Therefore, they started their return through the northern part, reaching an island near the continent. They made a scan from a considerable distance and did not spot any apparent conflict, other than trying to bring their boat towards the shores, since there was no deep water around them. Nos Confunden. Once they were settled, they began to set up a large camp to be able to heal the wounded, and another member also with other physical problems joined them. They spent a long period of time settled there on these beautiful islands of northern Lemuria, until the red sun reflected on an ancient vessel that seemed to be approaching those shores. JB took 2 members with him to meet it. From that vessel descended 2 humans who approached the shore and greeted the group. They told JB that they were also from Lemuria and had escaped because they were also convinced that the custodians were seeking to enslave the human race. The group was cautious at first in case it was a trap sent by the opposition. These people told the group that after JB's departure, other conflicts began and all the opposition to Asgard's journey began to dismember. Now there were 4 or 5 well-differentiated groups. Nos Confunden. All of them believed something different. JB then began to suspect that it was again custodian manipulation. Therefore, he came to the conclusion that the custodians already knew JB's plan. This was extremely dangerous, since if the plan was known without being able to reach the lands of Asgard, very possibly in the near future, the custodians would try to move the humans living behind the first dome to the lands inside. Once there, they would start the preparations for a new reset. JB's ideas were not going to go unnoticed by the custodian real leaders, and without a word to any human group in those latitudes, they were forced to leave their lands to join the move to the continents inside the first dome. Nos Confunden. JB knew very well the plan that the custodians were carrying out, and for this reason he tried to unify again another large group in order to escape to the southern lands. Some stories tell that a large part of the group came to settle in lands near the ancient lands of Anak, and part also in the ancestral lands. Their records remained in the Great Ancestral Database as an example of heroes who faced the custodian yoke and did not give up until the end of the days before the reset, even before the custodian manipulation of promising a better life in the old continents.
YouTube channel Nos Confunden.